There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am, of course, your host, Nick. We're here back to talk the Twilight Zone.
Oh,
God.
I went limp. I grabbed my mic and just shit. I don't know what happened there. So this has never happened before, I promise.
Yeah. I'm not impressed.
I mean, it is the lateness of the hour, so I mean, you know, things happen when it's late.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're back to talk the Twilight Zone. Thank you to Rob last week for coming on as quick notice, or short notice, one of the two. Okay, so how you guys doing? I don't know where to like segue from there, but how you guys doing? How's life?
Better than Jake's flaccid microphone.
My flat, yeah. It's okay now. It's back up. I gave it a injection of confidence.
Stroked it lovingly.
Girls.
It turned you to jelly. It just went, you went, oh.
Turned something.
So far, this is already a better segment than the episode itself.
Oh, dear God. Here we go. Starting already.
No, I'm going to say it. This episode sucks.
Damn.
Anyways.
Talk about premature editorialization.
I know, right? I'm going to put this at the end of the episode so you'll never know. So anyways, guys, we're back. I hope you've been doing well. I hope it's been going well. It's been a busy week. I keep getting screeners. I'm special, I guess you could say. Jacob's gonna murder me one day by coming down to Florida. I expect it so he can take over my YouTube channel and get all the screeners.
I don't want to take over the channel. I just want the all the screeners. So I'll take over your email address.
There you go. Just hack his account like hardcore.
Like I just
90s
stopped
style.
getting screeners all of a sudden. What happened? I don't know, man. I've got a screener.
Why
though. You want to
see? Why is Nick wearing glasses and starts moving around when songs are playing? This is so weird. Oh man. So yeah, can we talk about something else other than this episode?
No.
Like, can we talk about like porn or something? I mean,
No.
it got quiet. It's like guys, off the rails.
You asked to talk about porn and we're just like nothing to say, but you just don't say a word and we go straight into it.
Yeah, exactly. We don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Damn it. So it has to come naturally. Son of a bitch.
Do what I want.
Exactly. Screw that.
So yeah. So we're also on audio feeds. We're on Audio Boom and Sex Cloud and Cup of Uranus and Google Play and Amazon Music.
I'm sure
I don't know.
It has
I'm sure
to
there's
be.
a thing called there's probably a thing that someone's invented called Sex Cloud. It's probably one of those like hanging toys or whatever.
Rule 34.
Cloud.
Yeah. He's actually looking it up.
Well, yeah.
It's the Lion King Sex Cloud. Stream Sex Cloud music. It's a thing. It's a part of SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/SexCloud.
Nice.
Play Sex Cloud and discover followers on SoundCloud. Okay. I might
Good
have to
times.
I think the mom in this probably was on Sex Cloud, when she was getting that massage.
She's on Sex Cloud 69.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chicky
69. But today we're talking about an episode. We had fun for like the last 3 episodes, didn't we? It's always fun to have a downturn in the podcast because of episodes that don't look great or play great. Yeah. So we're talking about season 2, episode 8, which is called The Lateness of the Hour. Directed by Jack Smight, written by Rod Serling, production code 1733662. Air date December 2nd, 1960, and stars Inger Stevens as Jana, John Hoyt as Dr. Loren, and Irene Tedrow as Miss Loren. So The Lateness of the Hour is the first episode to premiere on what, Triv?
On tape.
And
oh, did it?
Oh, did it indeed?
Oh, did it?
It was quite an experience.
First frame.
Oh man.
My first note I have is, woo, yeah, that's shot on video. It says that WOOOO. That's shot on video, because as soon as it came on, I was like, wow, yeah, look at that frame rate go.
Oh man, it reminded me so much of Dark Shadows from that era, because it was that studio camera setup. Like, they tried to do some interesting like shots and stuff, but there wasn't any Dutch angles, there was no extreme close-ups, it was just medium shot, wide shot.
That's pretty much how I felt watching this episode. I think I've already asked this question last week, but do you guys remember this episode at all? Did you remember these episodes being shot on videotape? Like,
I don't remember. I didn't remember any of the episodes being shot on tape or on video until you guys were talking about it. We were talking about it a few weeks back. So no, I don't remember that. The episode itself, I didn't at first. And then as it went on, like, I still didn't have like my recollection of it was very, very hazy. But the end, what happens in the end, I was like, I remember this. I don't remember everything else that happened in the episode. I did pick up on what was going on by the end, but what happened in the end, I was like, I remember this specific thing happening. So unless that happens in another episode somewhere, yeah, I guess I remember the final shots of the episode.
I don't remember this one at all, but from the second that it starts, you can kind of see where it's going.
Yeah.
And as far as the shot on tape episodes, there's another one that I remember. I'd have to go back and look at the list of all the ones that are shot on tape, because I remember thinking how different everything looked when I watched one of the marathons, but I'm drawing a blank as to like what episode it was. So I don't remember this one specifically, but I do remember at least one other one that was shot on tape.
Well, Night of the Meek was. I know that for sure. And Ryan mentioned Static was as well.
And I'd have to look at the episodes because I can't by title. I'm a complete idiot.
Yeah, this episode is about an insufferable woman. I hate to go there, but it's about a woman
though? Do you hate to go there? I'm not sure you
not
do.
really with this episode, but we
damn broads.
No, but
this
we talked about this.
Crazy.
She flown the coop. No, but we talked about this last week, how the wife of William Shatner, or Carl Urban, or whatever you want to call him, was somewhat competent, but we come back to another just woman on like crazy pills. I mean, I don't know what's going on in this episode, but I think the concept is interesting. The idea of like robots that are robots that are being built as, people to help out. But my God, until we get to the end, I texted you guys and I'm like, good Lord, this woman's insufferable. Like, who wants to be like, you think they would just like put her at the pasture or something? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's just the thing she says to as her mother's getting an orgasm, I'll
have what she's having.
Yeah, exactly. She's complaining about everything from the windows to the ceiling to the temperature in the room to the fireplace to the.
I'd like to point out that my second note is this chick sounds like she's having an orgasm with that back rub.
At one point Jaina says something like she basically tells her mom that she's doing animal grunts of pleasure, and I think that's like, I don't know if that's not really lexicon per se, but
she said it helps her appetite.
Yeah,
her
I know.
Sexual appetite.
Just a little bit. I think she and the maid have something going on. We've got early sex spots or something. Although all of this,
when in Rome.
Yeah, exactly. I do have thoughts on and I know that I don't think that there's a great overall meaning to this one, but I do think that there's some interesting things that you can pull from what Serling might try to be saying here. But that's a thing for later. So go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that she sees all this stuff. You could either see it as people that are stuck in the past and, they kind of hide themselves in the world, like these rich people that have absolutely no, they can have it, they're weighted on hand and foot, and they kind of lose track of what the world is. So from that perspective, I do think you could see Jaina trying to pull them ahead into some form of like modern world. But on the other side, I think overall, every part of this, like at one point, one of them says, let's see, they talk about the way the robots are built for gardening or being a maid or whatever. And it feels like a statement the way that stereotypical rich folks look at poor people, like, oh, well, you're built to be a gardener. You're built for this. You're built for that. I'm not, because I'm above that. There's that sense of entitlement that comes with, a certain amount of people.
Yeah, it's that I get. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people that were the butlers and stuff like that were definitely not of wealth and stuff like that. But it's just like, I don't know if Rod Serling was having a bad week with his wife, or he was having a bad turn with his person on the side or something like that. I'm joking. I'm sure he didn't, but I know it's 1960 and women are written differently and stuff like that, but there has to be a point where even Rod Serling was going, are we pushing the limits on this woman and her insufferable ability to be just a kind of annoying? I mean, the stuff she says are atrophy and stuff like that, and it's just like, oh my god.
Well, again, I think you're going for, if you're looking at it from the perspective of just like rich spoiled kid that wants stuff her way, I think you can see her as just any rich spoiled brat in that perspective, and you get the parents that are doting and they don't want to engage with the world, and then the daughter that's spoiled and thinks, well, I deserve all of this stuff because whatever. I think there is some discussion to be had in there amongst that. I don't know if that makes any sense. Cut it out if it doesn't.
No, it does. Actually, you're making sense. You're trying to make it sense, and it's working somewhat.
Yay.
I just thought it was somebody who is really tired of this same fucking routine every day.
Yep, that's true too. That's another good way to see it, though.
Oh my god, can we please do something else? They wanted, they're old and they just wanted to be stuck in their ways. They wanted her to be a part of those ways. She was part of those ways. She said, no, I'm young. I want to be free. I want to get out there and sex up a bunch of men and do a bunch of drugs. Listen to Elvis.
Exactly. And how deep were the ass indents in those two chairs in that drawing room for the mom and dad?
Notice, but that's pretty funny.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
They're probably part of the chairs. They just kind of became part of the chair.
Basically,
the chair became part of their ass.
Well, that's actually a good question I have is, are we looking from, older individual point of views? Like, could we see ourselves, how when you're a kid and you watch a movie with kids and you're with the kids and then you become an adult and you're actually with the adults instead of the kids? Is that what's happening here? Am I looking at this from a 40-year-old point of view instead of a, 20-some point of view? I don't know. Maybe I'm just old.
It depends on who you identify with. I mean,
yeah, man, you can identify with whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you identify with as a
the mirror.
I identify as a 21-year-old Filipino. I don't know. I mean, whatever.
21-year-old sex pot. Also, where the hell was the pool boy robot?
He was a 21-year-old Filipino.
Damn it. Yeah, that's true.
I am the pool boy robot. Hello.
Right.
You had to wait till Friends to see the Filipino boy pool boy.
I brought my rod today, Miss Lauren.
Yeah, it's the old woman, the mother. You can tell something's weird and off about this episode just on the simple fact of how old the parents are. I'm not saying this young girl is 20 and she wouldn't have 50-year-old parents, but they seem like they're in their 70s, maybe late 60s.
Well, that was more normal back then, I think. There came a time. There was a shift. Yeah, there was a shift where at some point around World War II that people started waiting longer to have kids, and you had multiple kids, and it wasn't unheard of to see older parents. Like, my parents are older.
Yeah, mine are too.
I was born before World War II, or after World War II, but
damn,
you look good.
Yeah, I
my
know,
parents were actually born during World War II, but that wasn't unheard of, especially on TV. Even if it wasn't as predominant out in the world, when it came to TV, the parents were usually considerably older than the kids. Unlike today, sometimes you'll see a mom and a daughter walking, and you're like, "Are you guys friends?" like close sisters. I mean, which, I mean, they I think they wanted to portray that was like a way of like TV kind of, or media kind of portraying the wait a long time, don't do the naughty until you get much older and you're ready to have children. Like... You're respectable.
Well, and look at the way that people look though. Like, I would not have pegged the Jaina as a 21-year-old. Like, she looked 30 to me. And I know that, like, you look at people, like, look at teenagers. I'm sure you would have. But look at, like, quote unquote teenagers in like any B movie of that era. Like, they looked like they were in their 30s. Like, there was no teenager there. I'm
because
sorry.
They were.
Yeah. I mean, people back then, generally speaking, did look older.
That, and I'm pretty sure she was probably damn near her 30s. I don't know how old she was in real life, but
she died young. She died at 35.
Oh, shit.
10 years after this episode, because she apparently committed suicide or something like that. But
was she in the Mirror Image episode?
She was Nan Adams.
Oh, holy shit.
It's Nan Adams. She's returned.
Was he dead?
Holy
or
shit.
was the professor? He looked familiar too.
Did you say was she still dead? What did you say? I swear you said, was she still dead?
No. What was her dad? Like, the professor, was he in another episode too? He looked really familiar.
He was in Spartacus.
Okay, never mind.
Desperately Seeking Susan.
Disregard. I don't know. He looked familiar. Anyway, neither here nor there. Disregard.
Disregard.
Etc.
Disregard.
I disown.
On the did you guys notice also, and maybe it was just me, maybe I was being really critical of the video because it was shot on video and it did stand out so much. Did it sound like they were using, and I don't know if video cameras of the 60s had these. I know they weren't like the ones that we had like in the 80s and 90s, but or even now, but did it sound like they were using like onboard mics too? Like in-camera mics, which I don't know if that was a thing with video. Well, I mean, I guess it would, because that was what was cheap about videos. Everything went to the tape, even back then. Because like VHS and tape was pretty much the same as it was.
Yeah, it was supposed to cut a lot of cost.
Yeah, so I mean, it's because like when they were right close to the camera, you heard them like normal. But if they're in the background, they usually have like boom mics or something. I don't think they were using the same microphone setups, because when they were over there, they sounded very distant, but not like in the way you want them to sound distant, like in a scene. They sounded like they were just far away from a fucking like a mic instead. And I don't know, maybe I was just being critical of all the technical aspects because I knew of the video thing, and there was no difference, but it sounded different to me.
I think it did too.
Critical.
But... That's what we're supposed to do.
Son of a bitch. Can't like anything.
Nope.
But let me ask you guys about that, the idea of the videotape. Do you guys think it actually takes away from this episode, or do you think it's really like jarring after watching so many episodes filmed actually on film? Like, do you guys, did it bother you guys, or do you feel like it's not too bad? Like, where do you guys stand on that, I guess?
I looked at this, and it was the quality of the video. I mean, that's kind of like smacking you across the face with a fish. It's hard not to notice it. But more so than that for me was the lack of, because Twilight Zone that we've seen up to this point, it has interesting angles. It has things that stand out as, like I said before, like if it's Dutch angles or interesting shots. It's not just a studio camera setup, which this clearly was. The other thing I'd say is it felt like a stage play. And I guess, a lot of sitcoms back at that point, had that feel. Like when you see Rod Serling, they all leave the shot and then he kind of walks into shot, and it felt like a theatrical production to me. I'm split on this, because honestly, about halfway through the episode, I didn't notice it anymore. It didn't grow on me. I mean, if you called attention to it, I'd be like, yeah, you could tell. But I didn't notice it as much at first. Hell yes. Like literally the first scene when it showed like that lightning and she's standing at the window, I was like, whoa, is this the first one? And then like the very next shot, I was like, yep, this is the first one. This is fucking video. I didn't even have to look that fact up. No.
And I knew it right away. And it was at first, it was kind of jarring. Definitely looked different. I got to wonder though, back then, when people weren't used to seeing things shot on video, when it was all new, and people didn't call it the soap opera effect because it's running at 60 frames a second.
Yeah,
I think something like that. That's what makes it look weird. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit. It is cleaner than a film of the time. I mean,
there's a lot of noise though. Like it was weird. There's a lot of like noise in this episode.
That's due to the degradation of the video itself, though. I think because you can see like how it's in background and stuff where things are degrading and before it was put on digital. I don't think it looked like that originally. However, now we see things like that and we equate that look to cheap TV, to soap opera effect. To shoot something in high frame rate is difficult to make it look like good. I think that movie that Ang Lee made, the Gemini Man, they shot it with Will Smith. They shot it at 120 frames per second. And I didn't get to see that in 120, but I heard it was awesome. And I heard it looked good. But then you look at something like the second Lord of the Rings movie, or not Lord of the Rings,
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit movies. I saw the second Hobbit movie in 48 frames per second, high frame rate. And I hated it. I hated the way it looked. I just couldn't stand it. I mean, after a while, you just get over it, but it didn't look right. But I've heard that has to do with lighting and stuff. With this, though, back then, people didn't know. So when they saw it, I wonder if people didn't look at it like... helps. Yeah, but I mean, it's the movement. It's all mostly, to me, it's the frame rate. Like if you went in and, I don't know, removed frames from this thing and made it 24 frames per second, I think you'd be hard pressed to tell a difference. You'd probably be able to tell there's a bit of something looks more
graphics,
like
if you have graphics on there, like the end credits, when they did on my version,
they get wiggly.
They get wiggly. They get kind of like the opacity of them is kind of funky. Then there's also on my version you get like the Twilight Zone open and then it goes to the whatever their auxiliary sponsor was. And their logo came up and your solid blacks, like there's a lot of blown out stuff.
Sure.
Like they got to the end graphics, and regarded again, it's a small thing, but it was the CBS television studios logo. And it was, when it came apart, the whites were so blown out. It was hard to tell.
I would be interested to see, because I think I could do that in editing. I'd be interested to take this episode, put it in there, and reduce it down to 24 frames. That's not going to be real 24 frames.
I don't know if you noticed.
I'm curious if it would make a difference.
When you film in 60 frames a second and you put it on YouTube, you get a lot of that like weird compression problems. And it's kind of the same thing here. I think if you even took it down to 24 frames, you're going to get a lot of weird movements and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because it was shot at 60 or whatever video. I think
it's like when they
60.
film something, they pare it down to like 2K or whatever to put on screen. But
I don't know if, like, when we see that, we equate that to not quality, and we're like, oh, that looks bad. We see it and we automatically think cheap. Especially going from film, and next episode is this. It's like, oh no, we're used to seeing 24 frames per second shot on film or down digital, but still they try and make it look like film. I wonder if back then, if they saw it and they were just like, oh, look at that, it looks so smooth, or it looks this, or I wonder if they thought it looked bad. I'm sure people obviously you can tell a difference, but I do wonder how they took it when they saw it back then. Did they think did they equate that to low quality like we did? Because the video was very new then, so it didn't have a precedent, like a precedent of being standing for low quality.
It's like going from Blu-ray to 4K or something.
Yeah, I mean, in some way, but like you guys said, there's some things that didn't do well. You have some things are blown out, and while it looks smoother, it's not as sharp either.
Yeah.
Video's not as sharp as at first inspection. You're like, oh yeah, it's smoother looking, and it's not. Just like a video or a film is just a lot sharper, so you see all the edges and everything. With this, it's like kind of putting a gauze blur over all of it.
Well, according to the trivia, so this was obviously one of 6 episodes shot on videotape. So each episode was a cost of $65,000 per episode, was exceeding its budget. So
back then, that's a lot.
Oh, it's a huge amount. So as a result, 6 consecutive episodes were videotaped at CBS Television City and eventually transferred to 16 millimeter film for syndicated rebroadcasts. So total savings on editing and cinematography amounted to only about $30K for all 6 entries. Not enough to justify the loss of depth of visual perception or visual perspective, which made the shows look like stage-bound live TV dramas or even daytime soap operas, which at the time were quickly and cheaply produced. The experiment was deemed a failure and never attempted again. So they must have looked at it and said, I mean, between the fact that they only saved $30K and the fact that they really couldn't match the quality, it sounds like they just kind of said, screw it.
So they only saved around $4,500 an episode, give or take.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that they're doing all this cost cutting measures and nonsense, and this happens all the time even today, and you end up getting a worse result out of the situation. And you can see here, like, I think, I hate to say this, but I think this episode would have been a better episode if it was filmed on film. I think just the overly soap opera-ish nature, the very cheap looking nature, really takes away from the impact of what this episode is doing, which actually, Triv, you brought up a really good point about what this episode is trying to do. But like, you know, the things that are really interesting is, you know, Dr. Loren just talks about how this is like his life's work, and you know, he feels that it's important, you know, to help the world with this kind of situation, and she can't see that, which we find out later on why that situation is. But I don't know, like, you know, we haven't even got to the opening narration, because as we know, it takes 8 minutes or 7 minutes to get to that opening narration. But I just never found, I do think Rod Serling's introduction into this episode is kind of badass, but like I just, this whole first act and just this, you know, leading up to the opening narration, it just feels kind of half step from what we know from Twilight Zone. This feels like a 16mm shrine, to be fairly honest to me. But
so is that what you liked though? Is that what took away more from you, was not so much the story but the look of it? Did you, well, not that, well, no, did you ever did you ever get to a point where you stopped paying attention to the look, like you stopped noticing the look of it?
No, I really didn't, to be fairly honest. I really noticed it through the whole thing. And it's not, you know, it's like the Gemini Man thing, like you were talking about. I did see that in 120 frames a second. It was interesting, but I think it's just the idea of just being cheap shows cheap. You know, if we were to, I don't know, do this in cardboard boxes and talk to, you know, our phones or something like that, which people do it.
We're doing it next week.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it from cardboard boxes.
I'll just have a popsicle with a face on it.
We're gonna do it over Skype, and we're gonna have our rendition of the lateness of the hour in cardboard boxes.
No, we're not even gonna do it over Skype. We're gonna do it over Yahoo or AOL Messenger. We're just gonna have like text.
Hell yeah.
To answer your question, Jake, I can say that, like, I did notice it, but it didn't, like, I'm so used to like quality of things that aren't very good, so you do kind of, you see it but you don't see it, you know, you kind of gotta, to get to the story and all the rest of it, you do kind of have to look past it. But I understand, you know, if you're used to a certain level of quality, that it is hard to look past. Like, it was more, like I say, it wasn't so much the videotape that got me, it was more the lack of what you expect of angles, and like the fact that the best that they could do for this was like putting a camera up on the upper floor and watching Jaina like toss a maid down the stairs.
Now, that's the other thing. Like, was that due to the limitations of the equipment back then? Because I don't know, like, you know, what
there's like no
video cameras were like back then.
I would say it was probably the setup of the cameras, because it was more than your basic studio setup, but it wasn't like what we were used to with Twilight Zone in that respect.
Well, on top
there were
of
no
that,
like tracking shots or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, like the robots in this episode would have been, you know, they would puppetry and stuff like that. And there's none of that. You just kind of have to use your imagination. And when it comes to Twilight Zone, using my imagination doesn't really work out very well, because, you know, when they fall out 2-inch windows and stuff like that, and you see their feet as they're falling, it just doesn't work. But you know what we should do, since we've been waiting too long. I think we've been talking for 7 minutes now. We'll go ahead and do the opening narration about 45 minutes into the podcast.
Right on. The residence of Dr. William Loren, which is in reality a menagerie of 4 machines. I can't read tonight. We're about to discover that sometimes the product of man's talent and genius can walk amongst us, untouched by the normal ravages of time. These are Dr. Lauren's robots, built to functional as well. Okay, that's a typo. Built to function as well as artistic perfection. Oh, never mind. It's not a typo. I'm fucking this all up. Okay, built to functional as well as artistic perfection.
You're making Rod Serling proud.
But in a moment, Dr. William Lauren, wife and daughter, will discover that perfection is relative, that even robots have to be paid for. And very shortly, we'll be shown exactly what is the bill in the Twilight Zone.
Because anal.
Because the bill is anal. And
I
think Mrs. Lauren would be okay with that.
I'm thinking so too.
Ready.
She got that sex bill, the sex robot.
Yeah.
But okay, so with that out of the way, that's a lot of words that I can't comprehend at this very moment. Just ravages of time, robots. It's a lot of words. Ravages. Before we get into the second act, which is kind of another whatever, what do you guys think about this first act? Me personally, I'm not gonna go into too much more detail. I don't like this episode. You can't convince me otherwise. I think this episode's terrible. Just on every single level. You said, is it just the videotape? It's not just a videotape. I just don't feel either Rod Serling was getting very frustrated with CBS, or he just wasn't feeling this episode, which happens in seasons where there's like 30,000 episodes in a season. You're going to have those episodes that are not great, but it's just, there's so much here that could be better explored in different circumstances. And here you're just given like One Life to Live or General Hospital, Twilight Zone. So that's where I'll leave it. I'll let you guys discuss what you think.
Go ahead, Jake.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay.
This is the outer limits.
I had some, I guess, questions more than anything else. Like, she talks about wanting to leave the house. Is there something that stops her from leaving the house? And I don't know. Like, there were just questions of if it was something where it's not like the doors were locked. I can see why, like, why the robots looked human, because I think that was part of the thing, was to make sure that they looked as human as possible. But you really never got a sense of the robot side of them, even besides the fact that they didn't really do a lot of emotion and such. I don't know. Like, I'm torn on it because there is merit. I think there is something to be said for the story, for the story behind it, but I don't think it was as well executed as it could have been.
Okay, well, let's do this shit.
Let's do this shit.
Oh man, he's gonna put this above Perchance a Dream. I can tell already.
Okay, so as far as the first half of this episode, okay, the video thing that was jarring as soon as it came on, and it did take me a few minutes to like not focus on that, but I was able to and try and pay attention to the story. And the video thing, I try not to hold against it. I mean, we're rating the whole episode, so yeah, it's a knock against it, I guess, because it's there. It is what it is. It's a technical limitation. As far as the story and what's going on in it, I'm going to try not to hold it against that too much, because it's not their fault. They had to do that. It is what it was. When it comes to that, I agree that it definitely, it was very vanilla in its production. And it was a lot. I think Triv said it best, is like a stage play. I think Triv said that. Triv, one of you guys said that.
I did, yeah.
It was very like a recorded stage play. And there wasn't any interesting angles or even really music. I mean, it was just very, hey, here's some people in a room, fixed camera angles, record it. When it comes to the story, up to the halfway mark, I mean, I was all right with it. Honestly, I didn't mind it. I was wondering what was going on. I mean, it took me a few minutes to realize. I mean, I thought these people, the woman in there giving her like the orgasmic back massage, and the butler, something was off, but it took me a few minutes to notice, oh, they're robots. Okay. And I was on board with it. I wasn't like, oh, this is the best episode ever, but I was like, okay, cool. Let's see where we're going. Let's see what they're going to do with this. So for that first bit there, I think they demonstrated that these people, the parents, are wanting to do the same thing every single day and never deviate from routine. And the girl was just like, let me out of this prison. I want to go do something. Can we please do something else? I thought in the beginning there was something going on out in the world and we didn't know about it. Like,
I kind of wondered that too.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going on. It's like, oh, they're stuck in here, but then we're going to see that post-apocalyptic outside or something, and they're just fortunate enough to be stuck within these walls or something like that. As my gears were turning, I was trying to figure that what was going on, and I thought maybe it was something like that, but it wasn't. So yeah, I mean, I was cool with it. I mean, we don't get a lot of revelations in the first half besides these are robots. And we just know that she wants out, and she's like, I was fine with it. I was fine with it up to this point.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are more optimistic than I am, because I am gonna go alone in this one. I'm gonna die on this hill. But
did you remember this episode? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I knew this episode. It's one of those episodes I try not to remember, but I remember. We're hitting a couple episodes that I'm not like big fans of, real fond of. But the second act is basically the revelation. She is threatening to leave Jana. I keep calling her Jenna, but it's Jana, which is a weird name for a woman in the 60s. Usually it's like Margaret or Saskatchewan or I don't know.
Saskatchewan, that's a city. Ethel. Yeah, we'll go with Ethel. Not Saskatchewan. Onomatopoeia. Sacagawea.
But she's threatening to leave, and she won't leave, or I guess she won't leave until the robots are kind of taken down to the basement, and they can. I don't know. She doesn't want robots in her life anymore. She wants to be fun and fancy free. She wants to go on, like you said, taking trips to have grandchildren and be fun. And anyways, so the robots complain that they're being set down to the basement, and the guy's like, look, go down to the basement, wait down there, for 50 minutes. I'll send the mother down there. You can have a sex party and do whatever you need to do. And it's
they never said what was in that basement.
No,
they didn't.
Couldn't be a sex dungeon.
That's the Tales from
Rich
the Crypt
people's
episode.
weird, man.
That they are.
Hey, I was gonna ask you, Jacob, is this a Tales from the Crypt episode? Is that what happens in the basement? It's a sex dungeon?
If it was a Tales from the Crypt episode, that is what would have happened. They would have gone down there and it would have been just a sexual robot orgy, just oil and grease all over the place.
Oh man, it'd be like the Matrix version of the Tales from the Crypt, like dancing and stuff.
The Zion dance.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, she finally comes down from her room, and she starts talking about grandchildren and taking trips, and the mother's upset by this statement because they know what's going on, and the father is very much trying to deflect the whole situation. He's trying to make her at ease, Jana at ease, by not making her realize what's actually happening. And to be fairly honest, if you can kind of see it coming if you really think about it, but she pulls out the photo book or the photo whatever book or whatever, and she's like, why do I not have any pictures of me in here? And they're like, oh, there's pictures of you, blah blah blah. And she's like, well, it's not me as a young kid. And you can kind of figure it out on
before then.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of obvious if you think about it. Like, the way the father talks in this episode, it's like he's the way he builds to perfection. He builds to people to have a specific role, but he talks about how they were never able to conceive kids and stuff like that, children. She realizes that she of course is a robot. She's a robot. She's an android. She's a machine.
I thought that was a stretch. I will say that, because I did, being a viewer of this episode, knowing something's going on.
Yeah,
sure, I was thinking stuff, and I remember they were standing by the stairs, and I think it was right before she went upstairs, or he had just come downstairs and done that little beeper thing in his pocket, and
yeah,
that's when I thought, I was like, she's a robot, I bet. And but when the way she comes to the conclusion is she runs and starts getting picture books and all this and like looking through them. I'm like, that's a stretch. You went there real quick. I don't know if I, like, in real life, if this is happening, even if there were robots in my life, I wouldn't just automatically go to, I think I'm a robot.
Well, and why all of a sudden? And I know that it was kind of brought up, but
it was sudden. Yeah,
it was just like something.
Oh
flipped.
shit!
I mean, even she talks about how she doesn't feel pain, she doesn't feel love. Wouldn't you, to know what those are, even in concept, and to say to not have some line about, oh, well, why doesn't it hurt when I stab myself? I think there's a lot of missed opportunities as to what they could do to have her discover that. Like that should have been, and I know we're dealing with, lower budgets and all that kind of stuff, but it feels like there was a lot of missed opportunities on ways to have her come to that realization. Because I had it like, I was just like, oh, okay, that's a robot. She's probably a robot.
Well, that's why I like shows like Westworld that deal with this kind of stuff, where some of the characters you find out aren't actually human, they're hosts, they're androids or whatever you want to call them. And I like the idea of that. I know this is 2018, 2016, whenever Westworld started, but I like the idea of like somebody being created to do something specific, not knowing that they're robots or androids or hosts or whatever, and coming to that realization that's what they are, and you get that kind of cool kind of revelation. But here it's like I said, I mean, even though I've seen this episode before, it's like it's so obvious that she's a robot or whatever, and then it's obvious that the things she's doing, the way she's acting, are maybe flaws in the system, because you can't build a perfect robot. It just doesn't happen. You can't build a perfect android host, whatever.
Are they flaws in the system, or was she designed to be more like having a free will and kind of be able to make her own decisions?
She doesn't have free will. That's the problem. She wants to leave. Why can't she leave? Because she doesn't have free will. If she had free will, she would have left a long time ago and said, I'm gonna go start my own casino with blackjack and hookers. You know what? Forget the hookers, that type of thing. It's just,
I want to see that episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we saw that episode when the one guy went to hell.
Okay, so we're all saying, oh, all of us picked up on the fact that she was a robot.
Yeah.
Before the show let us know she was a robot, whether that was the show's intention or not, or the episode's intention. Is that because I don't know, that we've seen that gag countless times by this point in 2022, but 1961 or 2 or whatever it was that I feel would have been a newer thing than it is now. I don't know, had that been done before, where a person or a robot didn't know they were a robot, or was this like a trendsetter in that? And if so, would the audience, we're saying that because we've seen that trope before,
right?
Would the audience back then have even thought of that? Would it have been kind of like a oh shit moment for them, because that just hadn't even popped in, that wasn't part of the zeitgeist?
Well, that's the thing I'm thinking about is, what's that show where you have like number 1, number 2? It only lasted like 1 season for like 13 episodes, but it was oh god, what was it called?
Taking a piss and shitting, number 1 and number 2. What?
No. There's
the eunuchs from Ice Pirates.
Oh Jesus! No, there's a TV series. There's a famous TV series that at the end you find out that every number person is a clone, and the guy didn't realize what was going on. It was that type of, what the fuck is that show? It's a famous show. You can't. It was in the. It was like in the 60s. No, it only lasted 1 season, but it was actually a really famous show. But it's the same thing here. I think there's always been the idea of like not knowing, having a show or a movie do this kind of thing. Like, I guess Soylent Green was in the 70s, wasn't it? Maybe this is original. Fuck it, I don't know.
I mean, I'm thinking the way that robots were kind of talked about before this. And
like metal machines.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
Are more androids.
That's what I kind of thought too. I was trying to think back, and I know that there were probably
was there a Terminator movie,
or
not back in the 50s.
As Bishop likes to be referred to as synthetic humans.
Yeah, there you go. Because I'm trying to think, like, I'm even trying to think like the sci-fi shows of that era. I don't remember seeing anything where someone was a robot but yet still looked human by and large. Like, I'm thinking like Little Wonders, but that was 80s.
I mean, sure the Twilight Zone has had it. Look at the girl in the first episode I showed up on.
Yeah,
but they knew she was a robot. That was
well, and you saw the inside workings of the robot. It wasn't just this person we label a robot,
And I think it was more common back then for a robot to either be some guy wrapped in tinfoil and look like the fucking wood cutting guy on Wizard of Oz, or be a humanoid looking person with some like mechanical looking stuff, but they were like neat.
Well, Allergy had the robot, like the one guy was a robot, but you didn't ever see anything that was robotic really.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Well, he never really said, I guess he was a robot. He said, I guess you would call me a robot, because he was like from some other dimension or planet or something like that.
Yeah, true. I don't know, sir.
I don't know. I was just wondering. I don't know if it was as common a trope then. So maybe back then when it was made, because that happens a lot. We watch things now from the viewpoint of 2022, and we're like, yeah, I know exactly what's going on here. Maybe back then they didn't. Maybe then it was more of a, oh man, oh my God, she's a robot. Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, could you equate something like this to like some of the things that happened in Lost? Like some of the off the kilter things that you hadn't seen previously?
Hey, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I like Lost.
No, I mean generally, but like some of the things that
like Lost
happen, like the way that they went about it, would that be kind of a good way to compare the two?
I would say yes, but I think Lost was doing something in the spiritual and metaphysical realm, and more than creating a robot that you kind of just kind of
you know what I mean, just from the perspective of things that hadn't been seen previously. So like I never watched the show, but like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. It's been done since then, but it wasn't done all that much previously.
Yeah, like if you went back and watched Lost now, maybe there might be. I don't know. That show's fucking out there, but I know what you mean. Like you watch things that came out with that when we saw them, we were like, oh man, I would never. The Matrix being stuck in a machine.
Yeah.
Nobody could figure out what the fuck that was when it was coming out. We saw it, and everybody like. I mean, a lot of people got it. Some people were like, I just don't understand it. Now the whole idea of a machine running everything and us being virtually in a machine is like that's in everything.
Right. Or Blair Witch, or
things like that.
So the TV show I was thinking about was A Prisoner.
I know it. Yeah, he's on an island. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I've never seen that.
That was 60s or I think that was the 70s. But he's on an island and
1967.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's I remember that. I don't remember much about it. I just remember he's on an island and he is trying to get off of it. He's like a secret agent or something.
Can we just say the most depressing TV series finale is Dinosaurs?
Yep.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So yeah, I mean, the weirdest part about this episode is not that she finds out she's a robot. It's what they do with her when she finds out she's a robot.
That's pretty great.
I don't want to lose her.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do?
I need a back rub too, by the way.
You gonna go get a maid's outfit, and we're gonna reprogram you, make you into a maid. I'm like, so does that mean like some of the robots that they're working with are actual maybe children that they had at one point and they all went insane? Like
possibly
that, but it also answers one of the questions I know Triv asked a minute ago. Maybe both of you did, when she's on the top of the steps doing her whole her best Oscar winning performance, she's like, no pain. It's like, so you've never felt pain your whole life, however long she's alive?
She was beating on wood in that.
Yeah.
She's beating the wood.
I feel that ain't supposed to be painful, baby. You're beating that wood. It's supposed to feel good. But no, he has the capability to reprogram them. So maybe there had been times in the past when she was like, hey, I just, stabbed myself in the forearm or something and it didn't hurt. What the hell's going on here? And he wiped it out of her memory or something, since he can go in apparently and change what's going on in her noggin. So maybe
I put in my notes, they made Jana into a housekeeper and now she gets off her own mother. What the fuck is this episode?
Well, the other thing is too, they start calling her Nelda, which was the servant's
other
name.
chick. Yeah.
Right. So like it was almost like, okay, we're not going to take the time to, screw her, she's still our loving, daughter thing, but we're just going to change her name and call her Nelda because I can't be bothered to, call her.
There might be something there too. I mean, is she really, because they talk about how you're our daughter after the cat's out of the bag and they're like, we love you regardless of, you're a robot or not, where you came from. We love you as our daughter. I don't feel like a daughter you love, because then they're like, I can't live without her. I want her in the house. Do they want their daughter in a house, or do they just want this specific robot? There's just like this bag of bolts that looks like this person. She's in there just clearly she's like lobotomized, like rubbing her. Does that feel good, madam? That kind of thing. And like, I mean, did they really love her, or did they just love the convenience of, these little conveniences that they've created? Do they love her more, or this lifestyle they've created?
It's probably sorry.
No, I would say the real question is, are they terrible people?
Well, and you could ask that from a couple different perspectives. You could see that as like the butler robot says, sir, I've given you, however many good years I've always been a faithful butler, and it's like, well, I'm going to get rid of all of them. They wouldn't, like, he could have left them in the basement because she never goes to check. And it seems like love is a very different concept to what, you know, you would call love, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like it's love from a, like, I love my toaster or whatever.
Love my toaster. It makes me bread.
Yes.
I feel so
Their
great.
lifestyle.
I like it to toast.
I like it to toast. But yeah, that, I mean, in the end, that's the episode. Like, what do you guys think?
We didn't talk about something, and we need to talk about it.
Yes.
God, what do we have to talk about?
Right before, it's before the reveal. She's at the top of the stairs. She's running away from her father. She's like, I'm leaving this place. Fuck you. I'm out of here. Going to see Elvis. and do heroin and all the stuff.
Throw my
do.
panties at guys.
Yeah. Have sexy time. And that one maid gets in her way. And she straight just threw that bitch down the stairs.
and that maid was like,
we say no.
She was like, she was getting off on that shit. She loves that S&M, man. I'm telling you.
She grabbed her. She was about to like strangle her, I thought, and she grabbed her and went and like threw her down the fucking stairs. I just laughed my ass off.
That was pretty good.
That was great. Dude.
There were there were a couple moments that were, whether they were meant to be funny or not, they genuinely were, like when, like the orgasms, the animal grunts of pleasure at the open, the falling down the stairs thing.
Well, the grunts were in the background too. It would be like on the daughter, and I can't remember her name, and the dad talking, and the mom was in the same room, but she wasn't in frame. And a lot of times, if someone's not in frame and two people are having a conversation, all of the noise in the room kind of ceases unless it's ambient or something. But no, you still hear. That's what I cracked up, because she's making the noises when it shows her, and I'm like, damn, she's really into that back rub. But then even when she's not in the shot and they're sitting there talking, you hear in the background, he's like, yes, daughter, this. Yeah.
Spank me, Daddy.
I'm like, God damn. This chick is really into. That's one of the other reasons I thought maybe they were using some type of like open mic that was just picking up everything in the room and not like a boom, because it's just, she was just in there still like really into the scene, and they're over here like, shut up, Glenda, we're trying to do our scene here. You're trashing our shots. Like, oh yeah.
But with that said, outside of the S&M and orgasms, stuff like that, what do you guys think of the episode? I'm still on the terrible route, but what do you guys think?
It's not the worst episode. It's not the best. I mean, I'm not going to put it, I don't think I'd probably put it as low as you're probably thinking, but I do think that there are messages that you can take from this. And maybe that's just me looking at it weird. Jake brought up a good way to look at it too. I don't know, like the opening, like I say, I don't remember this episode, but like the opening narration made me think that it was going in a different direction than it did. And I wish it had gone more towards, like, because when I heard it, I thought, okay, every robot needs to be paid for. And all I could think was, okay, you got these robots, you know, they're doing, you know, orgasmic, you know, tantric back rubs and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and being tossed downstairs and keeping a smile on their face. All I could think was that they're going to rebel and they're going to kick some ass, and then, you know, they're going to make the people serve them. And I wish it had gone in some kind of direction like that, because I felt like for all of the stuff that this episode had, like quality and technical stuff aside, there was so much that could have been done with this to make it interesting, and it was so lacking for me.
I'd like to point out also, just before I give my final friggin' thoughts, I do think that another way to look at this episode, along the lines of what I was saying, that, you know, it is more or less this girl who's like, God, this is such a mundane life. I want out of it. I'm sick of this routine. But I think Serling played with these things quite a bit, where it was like, you know, robots and being sentient and things like that. And it was a different time, so that whole thought process was probably newer than it is now, obviously. I think he was probably trying to say, you know, you give something life, even if it's mechanical. I mean, like the Mighty Casey, you give something life and you want to control it. If you give it true life, like a brain, something to think with, think it for itself, at some point in time, its ideals and ideas and what it wants to do, its wants may not align with yours. And you can't have both. You can't have a subservient slave or a machine that does your bidding, but also have one that acts like a real human that has its own thoughts and feelings. Because at that point, you do just have a slave that you're forcing to do this thing. So it's like, she wants out, because they don't really mention AI or anything like that, because I don't even think that was a term back then.
No.
That's basically, that's what I guess she kind of had AI to a degree or something, because she was able to, unless all that was like detailed, like just programmed into her to act that way. I'm assuming it was something, she was sentient. She had her own thoughts, and she wanted out of the situation, and they just wanted her to stay there within the comfort. They didn't want a daughter. They wanted a fixture. They
Right.
wanted someone to say, this is our good little child who does speak when spoken to, and that's it. Well, that ain't how kids are. That's not how people are. This being, be it traditional life or not, had its own ideas and wanted its own thing, and they were just still controlling it. And it went to the point to where it showed that, they didn't really care about her. They cared about the convenience of having that thing, that possession within their home, and having control over it.
I don't
the
even
only
think
way
it
they
does
could do
that well. I don't even think it even accomplishes
say
that.
well.
I think, huh?
But I agree with Jake. I think it did because there was, they talk about comforts and the fact that they don't move for by and large. I mean, the dad gets up and moves around some, but by and large, like I said before, like the butt marks in their chairs were pretty freaking deep.
Yeah, they didn't want a daughter. They wanted a fixture. They wanted a thing that did what it was supposed. They wanted another, and that's what they made. They wanted another subservient robot, thing that did what it's their bidding.
They wanted
something
it
else
on
to
their
serve them. Yeah, they wanted something to serve them, and what they want. Hey, we want to be served. We want a daughter. We like the idea of a daughter. They wanted the idea, but they didn't want an actual child. And I don't really think that was love. They said, oh, I think they probably thought, within this world, they thought they loved her, but no, I don't think they really did. If they did, they would, okay, go out into the world. You look real enough. Throw your panties at Elvis. But all that being said, as far as like the whole episode, I know I said that to the halfway point, I was fine with it. I was okay with it. I was wanting to see where it went. After that, it definitely had its issues, like the revelation she has that she's a robot. That was a stretch. I didn't see her going there that quick. It seemed like she went there real quick. And I don't see how she put those puzzle pieces together. I understand it's a short episode. You got to move things along. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that. The episode, well, we could talk about things that it had to say. I don't think it had as many things to say as a lot of Twilight Zone episodes do. I think there's a little bit there, but it was nowhere near as much social commentary as we usually get. I don't know if that was because they were so focused on the new technical aspects of the show, which that may have been. This is an all new way of of shooting these things. So maybe they were just kind of wrapped up in that, and the creative side of things I don't know how much of these show or episodes is kind of done on the fly, like the creative side of things. I don't know if it was like heavily scripted and they were just like, Serling was like, do not deviate from the script, or if it was kind of like they get there and they're like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And maybe that was something special for Twilight Zone. That's what made it special. And then on this one, they were just like, hey, we don't even know how these fucking cameras work. But at the end of it all, the basic story, I didn't hate it. Kind of like Trish said, it's not the best one, but it's far from the worst. I enjoyed it, honestly. It had its issues, but I didn't hate watching it. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's fine. I'm not going to put it in top 10 or anything like that. I think it's better than Perchance to Dream.
Oh, God. I was wondering where that would go.
That's a bold statement, sir.
But I don't have the list in front of me right now. We'll see it in a minute, I'm sure. But I am sure that there's something, unfortunately, under Perchance to Dream that I think is better than this one. Because Perchance to Dream is somehow in the wrong spot by far. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst. I know that you were talking about 16mm Shrine. I think it's better than 16mm Shrine. Just for base level, take all the technical shortcomings out of it, which I know that's part of the experience. You can't totally distance it from that. But just the story itself, I do try and look at these things like, how were things back then when it came out? And I think that this whole idea of this this person not knowing this robot not knowing they're a robot. We share that revelation with them. I think that would have been much more like more of a mic drop moment back then. So that's pretty neat. I mean, I will say that I don't know. I think they were that where they go with it and they make her a maid. And I knew that's what was going on when it showed her, the mom sitting there all framed in close and like the hands. I was like, they made the daughter her. I thought that was like weird. I was like, okay, that they did that. But like I said, I think they were trying to say something with that. I think they were either trying to say something like Triv said earlier about the classes and things like that and how they viewed people through these robots, or like I said, it was kind of they don't really care for this thing. They just are more interested in the idea and not actually having it. It doesn't fit inside of their neat little bubble. And if you're not subservient to them, then you don't have a place in their life, which means obviously they have never had children.
Nope.
Because they don't work that way in the slightest. But yeah, I definitely liked it more than you did, Nick. I think we both did.
I think you both did, actually.
I don't have such a disdain for it. I don't know what this episode did to you. I mean, we could talk about it afterwards. You can.
Well, we can ask the same thing about you and perchance to dream.
It hurts you. I've been very vocal about that, but I feel
know
like
you have.
This one hurt Nick somehow. It touched him in places it wasn't supposed to. You can tell us about it off air, but
exactly.
No, I think that I liked it more than, I don't know. I feel like it's a middle of the road episode. I was entertained by it. I mean, that's a big plus for me.
So with that said, Jacob, hit us with the closing narration.
His response was about like when he starts saying, "Hey, let's talk about porn," and there was just like crickets.
His response was like, "Anyway, so it's going in number 42, right? 42, right? Everybody agree, right? Good. We'll be like, cut." Exactly. So we all agreed 42, and we'll be muted. You'll see us like
exactly.
Actually, you guys' camera feeds will disappear. I'm like, where'd they go? Oh my god, I get to do this on my own. This is awesome.
We'll just be frozen. Like, but hey, can you guys just both give me a thumbs up real quick? All right, cool.
This actually reminds me of the discourse before Eye of the Beholder. I'm actually surprised that he left us on for that we're still alive. Like being that he's got mafia
at least
ties
it's a good episode
from Miami. I'm surprised that we're still both alive, Jake.
Some Cubans are going to come up here and take our asses out.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm not even that far. I'll be first.
We're gonna start our own podcast crisis, fifth dimension crisis.
Fifth dimension, the fix.
Let this be the postscript. Should you be worn out by the rigors of competing in a very competitive world, if you're distraught from having to share your existence with the noises and neurosis of the 20th century, if you crave serenity but want it full time and with no strings attached, get yourself a workroom in the basement and then drop a note to Dr. and Mrs. William Lauren. They're childless couple who may comfort a life's work, and maybe there's a few do-it-yourself pamphlets still available in the Twilight Zone. But they tried to do something there, they tried.
Fair enough.
Okay. So with that said, I think we'll end it there on this episode.
I think we had to rank it, don't we?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's
were
what
you just hoping to do that? He was trying to like get past this and be like, well, that's the end of the episode, guys. Then we're like, wait, afterwards, weren't we supposed to rank it? Why is it last place?
All of a sudden there's just an explosion and it goes to black and it says Jacob and Triv will not be returning.
Yeah, you guys said you agree wherever I wanted to put it.
Oh yeah. Aw, he's so cute.
No, that's actually where I was heading next. But anyways, let's go ahead and head into the oh my gosh, shut up. So anyways, let's head into the Twilight Zone ranking list, the greatest list ever known to man. No list is better than the one we make up. Okay, so here's where I'm going to start. I think this episode is worse than the Mighty Casey. And I think it's better than the Thing About Machines. But that's where I'll start.
Ooh.
The Mighty Casey.
So it's number 44.
Mighty Casey is 37.
And The Thing About Machines. That was the one where the guy, with the fucking car.
Yeah. Actually, this could be worse
Yeah.
than Judgment Night. I mean, I don't know.
What about you, Triv? Where do you start?
I think 30 or below is a good kind of starting place for this. Because it's kind of middle of everything. So I was looking at like IMDb ratings, and it listed it above. So King 9 Will Not Return was 6.5, and this one was 7.1 according to however many ratings. I could see it around Big Tall Wish, kind of.
Damn, how did The Lonely get all the way to 31? I love The Lonely. Oh, that middle portion, yeah, because nothing happens.
Yeah.
So he had sexy time with the robot.
Yeah, and they play chess with bolts.
Well, I don't even think that this episode is not better than Mr. Denton on Doomsday.
Really?
No, not even close. I actually think this would be, if I were to rank this as my own, I'd put this at like 42. But that's just
imagine that. Holy crap! I would have
under
never
the
guessed.
4 of us are above the 4 of us are dying.
Yeah, below 16mm Shrine. I'd rather watch 16mm Shrine than this nonsense again.
Damn.
Oh wow.
All right, Jake, where do you think?
I have fond memories of The Lonely.
Well, yeah, because you were with us. I mean, robot gets shot in the face. I mean, hell.
Yeah, they actually show a robot. They don't just make thin air observations and weird smiling robots.
Damn, I thought it would be higher than this. I like this more than I really did not like. I Big Tall Wish. I appreciated what they were doing there. We've talked about this before. We talked about it on that episode, but I didn't care for that episode. It was just I had a hard time paying attention to that episode, and not because of who was in it. It was boring. So I definitely like this more than that. King 9 Will Not Return. I like this more than King 9 Will Not Return. I thought King 9 Will Not Return, like the end was just kind of limp noodle, which this kind of was, but I enjoyed this one more than that. I really like The Lonely though. And then When the Sky Was Open, is that the one where the two guys, people start disappearing and he goes to like the bar?
Yeah.
That's that one. Because that's where you were, Triv, right? It was around 30.
I was around. I said below 30 was kind of where I was thinking. I ideally speaking said around King 9 Will Not Return.
I'm gonna say if it was totally up to me, I'd put it at 30 because I liked it maybe just about the same as and When the Sky Was Opened. I don't know, 30, 31. I'm right in there, 30, 31.
I can't go above The Lonely, but I guess if I had to compromise. Sons of bitches.
Yeah, I mean, I'd do 32. I
would put this like below Big Tall Wish or maybe above it.
I definitely
like Mr. Denton on Doomsday so much better than this episode, though. I think Mr. Denton on Doomsday is a little underrated, but that's just me.
We rated it at 35. Actually, you guys did. That was before I was on here.
It was number 1 at one point.
Yeah.
What was it? The first episode?
Wait. No.
It was like the second.
Well, no, yeah, you're right. Second or third.
I think it was the second episode of the series.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that's not really saying much. It's like saying, you know what? The first episode was number 1 at one point in time.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong. Well, it's like saying it's the number 1 comedy in the nation, and there's only one comedy that came out that week.
Oh, actually, I am wrong. Actually, it was never number 1. Actually, One for the Angels was number 1 for a little while.
Yay.
This is better
honestly,
than
this
the Angels.
is so here's where I sit with this one, and this isn't going to help anything one way or the other, but this is one of those episodes that I appreciate what it did, but it just kind of was blah for me. There was so much stuff that should have been done. I appreciate the messages. It's very middle of the road.
But that's the problem, though. Like, the Big Tall Wish may not have the greatest story, but I don't think it's blah. I think this episode is just like, it feels like a soap opera. It feels like the Twilight Zone soap opera. Hour, half hour.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I'd be fine. I mean,
we're putting this episode above Walter Jameson. Just think about that.
I'm okay with that. Walter Jameson sucked.
I didn't like the end of Walter Jameson, but I did like. I liked that Walter Jameson up to about the halfway mark. Once that old lady got involved, I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I'd be fine. You mentioned The Lonely, and I do. I like The Lonely just a bit more than this one. I'd go right under the lonely. But I mean, we can keep going. If you guys outvote me, that's fine. I did like it more than Big Tall Wish, but who cares what I think?
Oh, suck it up, Cupcake.
So is this episode
one is
better
actually-
or worse than King 9?
There was more to King 9, I feel like. Like there was more mystery. Like they didn't come out and said, oh, look, robots. Like the more we talk about it.
I would 32 is where I'd go. But it's up to you guys.
Above King 9?
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, overall as an episode, King 9 was, I mean, it was fine. I didn't think it was bad, but it was just kind of, the end did not do it. The end of King 9 did not do it for me. It was almost a little too vague. It was almost like, what are you saying here? What are you committing to? I don't feel like you're committing to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't really commit to shit. So I was just kind of like, I don't like when they do that. I like them to either take a stance or leave it in a way, an interesting way to where it gets your gears turning. And that did not do that for me.
So the more we talk about it, the slightly lower it gets for me. And I
I need to shut up in other words.
No. It's not that. It's just like I think it through in my head, and it's because this is an episode I haven't seen up to this point, and it's probably not going to be one I'm ever going to watch again. Not because it's good or bad. I just don't have any. There's nothing to draw me back to it.
Oh yeah, I'll never watch this episode again.
Yeah,
unless I join another podcast.
Right.
Twilight Zone rankings in 20 years.
And this sounds terrible, and I know I already said where I'd put it, but I'm almost with Nick. I'd put it below, like right below Mr. Denton on Doomsday, which I know drops it further down than we had initially talked about, but I don't know.
I have no problem with that.
Well, of course you don't. It's like him and Perchance to Dream.
I'm not going to be terribly offended if it goes down.
Like that's kind of where I don't mean to be like a bitch and be like, oh well, I was here, but now I'm down there. But that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, that's what happens on this show.
I have the perfect guest starring role for you in an episode called "The Lateness of the Hour."
Oh Jesus! Shush.
I
feel no pain, no love.
Here's your Emmy. Here's your Emmy.
Animal grunts of pleasure. I mean, for orgasmic like back massages alone, like I want to sign up for that.
I mean, it was entertaining. You gotta say that.
It had moments, yeah. Walking record players was also a good one, but but that should be in the lexicon. Just the moan, because you do it really well.
Jeez.
I watch a lot of porn, so you know.
That's okay.
So what do you think, Jacob? Underneath that non-doomsday?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm cool with that. It's still in that same general area. I mean, unless you guys want to put it above Perchance to Dream.
So with that said, but yeah, so with that said, new number 36 is of course going to be The Lateness of the Hour. Number 1 is still Eye of the Beholder. Number 43 is The Fever. It's I don't know. In the end, like it's really just kind of a crapshoot when it gets down to like these episodes. Like, you know, when we get to episode 100, it's going to be interesting to see where we put the, you know, the invaders or something like that. So
I don't think that's a question.
Oh, it's not. That's why I didn't respond.
Yeah, exactly. I figured.
But yeah, so yeah. Fever number 44, Eye of the Beholder number 1. Next episode is The Trouble with Templeton, directed by Buzz Killick, written by E. Jack Newman. This actually stars
E. Jack.
E. Jack. Yeah, he E. Jacks all day.
Oh baby, I want E. Jack all over me.
But this this stars Brian. So anyways, this stars Brian Aherne, Pippa Scott, and it actually stars the one and only Sidney Pollack, which I think is kind of interesting. So
really? Rest
in peace, Sidney Pollack. Yep. Yeah, he stars in this episode. Great
Dude,
director.
I liked my microphone and it kind of tastes weird.
Why did you lick your microphone?
I don't know.
All right. So anyways, that'll do it. That'll be our take on The Lateness of the Hour. You know, it is what it is. So anyways, we're going to head out. We're going to go into the Twilight Zone, you know, do things that we shouldn't be doing. But Trev.
Oh, yeah.
If they want to find you're licking the microphone, apparently, where can they find that at?
You can find my mic licking antics here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I keep saying it, but I actually am gonna hopefully have Forbidden Zone coming out here this next week at some point. Hopefully. Anyway, you can also see me on Twitter at Trivial Theater.
Yeah, and she's 75 subscribers away from 1,000 people. Get on it. Subscribe to
Do
her.
it.
It's crazy.
Do it now.
Do it.
Do it now.
Do it.
What is this? What is this? A hospital made for ants?
Pretty much.
Oh man.
It needs to be at least 3 times as big.
Do it.
Now, Jacob, when they want to find out about your antics of broken projectors and movie theaters that are called MMC or Regal and Cinemax, where can they find your content at?
They can find that out tomorrow because that video is coming out tomorrow. I made a video of that, by the way. But anyway, check me out on Jacob Anders Reviews. I do a twice a week show called the Almost Awesome Show with Nick, where we talk movies and a little bit of video games, just entertainment and other stuff, and it's ever evolving. Airs every Wednesday and Saturday at 2:00 p.m. Central Time, whatever your time is, wherever you live. Figure that out. And then smaller bits of those episodes or those stories come out throughout the week. What Nick is referencing is my experience attempting to see Bullet Train the other day, and we talked about that, and we talked enough to where I could put a video out about that. That'll be out tomorrow. Awesome. As of this recording tomorrow. So yeah, check that out. Check out my other stuff. I still do movie reviews too as well. Some of them are on that show, and some of them are my traditional, just me sitting there in the studio doing reviews. So come check those out. I got one that hopefully I will be watching or doing of a movie I'll be watching literally very, very soon, in probably the next hour, I hope. Wow. So then there might be a fresh review up for you of a new movie. But yeah, check that stuff out there. I'm on Twitter too, at Red Neville 2. Or Jacob Anders Reviews, whatever you want, however you like. Other places too. Just hit me up in my DMs. I'll tell you about some other places. My OnlyFans. It's just me with fans. I got 2 fans. It's OnlyFans.
Hey?
They're actually the ones you have fans. To like. You have to do this.
Yeah, like geisha fans. It's just me. It's OnlyFans, so it's just me.
He's like,
shouldn't it just be the fans?
2 hours straight. And big fans on the side. It's OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad. I know. I'm sorry. Just how about you, Nick?
Yeah, so you can hit me up on Movie Emporium. I want to throw this out now. We're gonna hit
Emporium.
We're gonna hit our year here at the end of the August. So if you want to ask us some questions, please do hit us up on Twitters and DM me. Movie Emporium. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of videos this week, seeing a lot of movies, very exhausted, that type of thing. So definitely check out my reviews, audio feeds, of course, Audio Boom, Audio Cast, Castamast, Caster,
Sex Cloud,
Oil, Sex Clown,
Sex
iTunes,
Sex Clown. You've entered a whole new dimension. Hi, kids.
We got iTunes and Amazon Music and Google Play and Audio, Audacity, all that stuff. And anyways, without further ado, for myself, Triv, and Jacob, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone.
Eject.
Peace out.
Arrivederci.
Vaya con Dios.
Grazie.
What is that? Is that a weird bunny thing? What the fuck is that?
What? Oh no, that's
it's
Stripe.
a gremlin.
He's got Stripe again.
Oh, he's adorable. Oh, he's so cute. Look at you.
He's
still not as adorable as Baby Yoda. Oh my god, he's such adorbs.
I like it.
He can crush my skull any day of the week.